Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S Study Circle.
All of you who are preparing for the civil service examination should understand the importance of essay paper and pay attention to this. First, this paper is of 250 marks and its weight is around 12.5% in your written plus interview score. This is a significant portion and hence you should prepare this very seriously. Second important aspect is average score of GS paper of the candidates who actually cleared the examination hovers from around 95 to 105 marks. At the same time, average marks of essay for these people is around 130 plus. Toppers usually score 140 plus marks in this paper and take a lead over the competition. Third, essay paper develops on your foundation of general studies, your knowledge and understanding of various subjects, ability to present your ideas lucidly, covering a wide spectrum of interrelated ideas, and inherent skill for presenting your ideas in a systematic and powerful manner helps you in reaping more benefits from your general studies. In order to help you prepare for the essay paper in a systematic and gradual manner, RAU'S has started Mains Essay Test Series and QIP program. The first class of the session will be an open session that all of you can join. The session will take place on 12th of October at 10:30 am. There is a link in the description through which you can register yourself for the session. Attend the session and ensure a better chance for clearing the mains examination.
Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, an analysis of the Hindu newspaper from UPSC perspective. Today we will discuss the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 19th October 2020. And the articles that we will discuss today are displayed on your screen. Now, before starting the discussion of today's newspaper, you should take up this self-assessment test, and the answers for these questions have been provided at the end of this video. Now, this article on page number 6 is talking about the constitutional position of the office of governor in the state governments. And in this regard, the author has highlighted that the office of governor has become political in nature, and that has mainly been because the governors have been acting at the will of the central government. And the partisan political role of the governor is visible particularly in those states where the state government is led by the opposition ruled parties. And in this regard, the author has highlighted the recent letter that has been given by the governor to the state chief minister of Maharashtra. And that letter, according to the author, stands against the principles that have been enshrined in the Indian Constitution and particularly the ideal of secularism. And this particular letter that has been written by the governor of the Maharashtra also highlights the political interference by the governor in the functioning of the chief minister's office in the state of Maharashtra. In this regard, the role of governor has been controversial since the Constitution of India came into being. And accordingly, various reforms have been suggested by committees like the Sarkaria Commission and the Panchi Commission. So in this regard, let us look at the key issues with the office of governor and particularly related to the appointment and the removal of the governor and the suggestions that have been provided by the Sarkaria and the Panchi Commission in this regard. And they can be important for us from General Studies Paper 2 point of view under the topic Constitution. Now, before understanding the issue of politicization of the office of governor, let us first understand the constitutional position of the governor in the state governments. So, according to the Article 154, the executive power of the state government shall be vested in the governor and shall be exercised by him either directly or through the officers subordinate to him in accordance with this constitution. And secondly, the Article 163 states that there shall be a council of ministers with the chief minister as the head to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions, except insofar as he is required to exercise in his functions in his discretion. So it can clearly be seen here that the governor has been given the position of constitutional head of the state government. And that is because the executive power of the state government is vested in the governor. Further, regarding the state governments, there shall be a council of ministers which will aid and advise the governor. However, there are times when he can function in his discretion. And this is a particularly important aspect that has been provided to the office of governor, which is not available to the office of president. So this particular aspect that has been provided in the Constitution of India regarding the position of the governor, that he can function in his discretion, has not been provided to the President of India. And it is this discretion that has been provided by the Constitution which has led to the political interference by the governor in the functioning of the state government at times. So accordingly, this discretion is exercised by the governor in certain situations. First is regarding the assent and the withholding of the bill that are passed by the state legislatures. Further, the state governor can refer the bill for president's assent under the Article 200, and also he or she exercises the discretion with regards to the appointment of the chief minister under the Article 164. Further, the governor also exercises his discretion for the dismissal of the government which has lost confidence but refuses to quit. That is, a no confidence motion has been passed against the government and which is refusing to quit. So in that situation, the governor can exercise his discretion. However, the most important provision where the governor exercises his or her discretion is the governor's report that is sent under the Article 356. And we note that Article 356 is related to the president's rule in the states. So accordingly, the governor is required to send the report regarding the functioning of the state governments to the central government. And in this regard, he acts as an agent of the central government. So if the governor sends an adverse report regarding the functioning of the state government, the central government can impose the president rule in a state. And accordingly, under Article 356, the president's rule has been imposed more than 100 times since the independence and the constitution came into being. And this has been the most controversial article in the Indian Constitution, and it has been misused by the central government for imposing the president's rule in the state. And this particular article has led to the politicization of the office of governor. Now, for example, for the first time, the president's rule was imposed in Punjab as early as 1951. That is just 1 year after the Constitution of India was adopted. Further, after national emergency was imposed in 1975 by the Indira Gandhi government, and when the Indira Gandhi government lost the power in the elections of 1977, the new government that was formed by the Janata Party imposed governor's rule in the 9 Congress-ruled states or the opposition-led states. So this was clearly a misuse of the Article 356 in imposing the governor's rule in the opposition-ruled states. And again in 1980, when the Congress party came to the power, it did the same thing and again imposed the governor's rule in the 9 opposition-ruled states. So this shows that the central governments in the past have misused the Article 356 and the office of governor for imposing the president's rule in the opposition-ruled states. Now, besides the imposition of president's rule, the governors of the states have interfered in the functioning of the state governments. And that has mainly been because of the politicization of the office of governor. And this particular aspect has been highlighted in this article, that the letter which was written by the governor of the Maharashtra to the CM office of Maharashtra is clearly a sign of politicization. And this kind of politicization of the office of governor stands against the spirit of the Indian Constitution and also against the functions that are required by the governor according to the Constitution. Now, what has particularly led to the politicization of the office of governor? This has been the mode of appointment and removal of the governor of state. So presently under the Article 155, the governor of a state shall be appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and seal. So this means that the governor of a state is appointed by the President of India, and in this regard he acts on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of the central government. So accordingly, the central governments appoint those people who are supportive of their political agendas. Further, under the Article 156, it is provided that the governor shall hold the office during the pleasure of the president. And the qualification that is required for the office of governor is that a person should be citizen of India and he or she must have completed the age of 35 years. So this term, pleasure of the president, simply means that there is no security of tenure that has been provided to the governor. And in this regard, the President of India can at any time remove the governor from his or her office. Further, as we note that for the removal of President of India, an impeachment process has been provided by the Constitution itself. However, no such impeachment process has been provided in the Constitution regarding the removal of governor from the office. And we note that for the election of president, an electoral college is formed under which the elected members of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and the state legislative assemblies vote. However, no such procedure has been provided for the appointment of the governor, and he or she is appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and seal. Now, since the governor is appointed by the president on the advice of the central government, the central governments have resorted to appointing political people on the position of the governors. Again, those governors who do not toe the line of the central government can be easily removed because he or she holds the office during the pleasure of the president. And it is because of this kind of process of appointment and removal of the governor that the position of the governor has been highly politicized. And it is because of the politicization of the process of appointment and the removal of the governor, the Sarkaria Commission and the Panchi Commission have provided certain recommendations. So regarding the appointment, both these commissions say that the criteria that should be followed for the person who is appointed as the governor is that he should be an eminent person in some walk of life. Secondly, he should be a person from outside the state so that he is not interested in the local politics. Thirdly, he should be a detached figure and not too intimately connected with the local politics of the states. And fourthly, he should be a person who has not taken too great a part in the politics generally and particularly in the recent past. So this simply means that the person who is appointed as the governor of a state should not have a political background. Secondly, regarding the removal of the governor, both these commissions state that the phrase during the pleasure of the president should be deleted from Article 156 of the Constitution. And in this regard, a provision should be made for the impeachment of the governor by the state legislature on the same lines as the impeachment of president by the parliament. So this will ensure a security of tenure to the governor, and this is likely to ensure that the person who is appointed as the governor will act in an impartial manner and will not be politicized. Further, for making the office of governor independent in nature, both these commissions say that the governor should not be eligible for any other appointment under the union or the state government except for a second term as a governor or election as vice president or president of India. That is, the person who has been a governor in the state government should only be eligible for the second term as a governor. So this simply means that a person who has been a governor in a state should only be eligible for a second term as a governor, or he or she can participate in the elections of vice president or the president of India. And as the possibility of the appointment of the governor under the state and the union governments will end, it will make the position of the governor impartial and they will not act at the behest of central government. And finally, both these commissions recommend that the governor shall not return to active partisan politics. So we clearly see that it is because of the appointment process and the removal process of the governor that the position of the governor has been highly politicized. And in this regard, the Sarkaria and the Panchi commissions have tried to reduce the discretion of the president for the removal of the office of governor. And also, various other suggestions have been provided by them for improving the or depoliticizing the position of the governor. Now, some of the points that we have discussed here can be important for us from the mains examination point of view regarding the office of governor. However, to read more about this, you can always go through the basic books and you can read about the president's rule as well as other powers and the position of the governor and compare that with the powers that are provided to the president of India. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this article on page number 7 has been written in the context of slow progress that has been made on the police reforms. And in this, the author has highlighted the irresponsible manner in which the police has acted in the recent pasts. And in this, he has highlighted the instance of thrashing of a Dalit couple by the police in the Guna district of Madhya Pradesh. So this shows that the police has acted in an irresponsible manner which was clearly visible in this instance. Also, we note that there are various issues with the functioning of the police. For example, the investigation by the police has not been efficient at times. And also, the police has been involved in extrajudicial killings or encounters that are commonly visible in the newspapers. Further, the police officials have not been functioning in an independent manner and they have also been highly politicized. Further, it has been seen that the police has been functioning in a very high handed manner, and at times the police is not held accountable for their acts of commissions and omissions. So, in this regard, it has been said that it is because the police is working on the archaic colonial laws, and also there has been lot of political interference in the functioning of the police. And besides that, the acts of the police are not held accountable, and that is why there have been instances of police excesses, etc. And to correct these issues with the functioning of the police, various reforms and commissions have been made in the past. However, there has been very slow progress on all these suggestions that have been provided by the commissions and also the Supreme Court guidelines in this regard. So, in this background, let us look at a few important aspects of the police reforms that have been highlighted by the Supreme Court in the 2006 Prakash Singh versus the Union of India case, and they can be important for us from General Studies paper 2 point of view under the topic governance and polity. Now, this issue of police reform is a recurring issue and it keeps on appearing in the newspapers. And it has also been clearly covered in the past 3 DNS videos. So, besides revising from one of the video, we will also give you the link of the other 3 videos where we have discussed in detail the different aspects of the police reforms. Now, since 1977, many commissions and committees have been created for police reforms. And the first in this line was the National Police Commission of 1977 and 81. Then there was Roberio Committee in 1998. Again, Malimat Committee, the Padmanabhaya Committee, the Police Act Drafting Committee, and finally, it was in 2006 that the Supreme Court gave the directions in the Prakash Singh versus the Union of India case. Again, the second ARC has also provided various recommendations for police reforms. So in this regard, we'll look at the PIL which was filed by the ex-DGP Prakash Singh and also the Supreme Court directives in this regard. So now in this PIL, the ex-DGP Prakash Singh had mainly focused on the autonomy of the police forces and also appeal for bringing about professionalism in the police services. So for bringing about autonomy and professionalism in the police services, in the PIL, ex-DGP Prakash Singh has sought a fixed tenure to the police officers who are holding crucial positions. And based on this, the Supreme Court gave a number of orders which included the fixation of tenure of senior police officers, setting up of State Security Commission, and it had also mandated a new police act on the basis of a model act that is prepared by the union government, which needs to be circulated among the state governments. So after understanding the key appeals that were made under the PIL by Prakash Singh, let us look at the Supreme Court directives in this regard. So in this 2006 judgment, the Supreme Court had ordered the establishment of 3 important institutions. First is the State Security Commission, second is the Police Establishment Board, and third is the Police Complaints Authority. Now in the functioning of the police, we have seen that there is a lot of political interference. So in order to avoid the increased political interference and the politicization of the police forces, the Supreme Court had said that there should be a State Security Commission in each state. And this aims at insulating the police from the political influences or extraneous influences. Further, the State Security Commission was to be responsible for the overall functioning of the police and also for the evaluation of performance of the police officers. So basically, the setting up of State Security Commission aimed at insulating the police from the political influences. Further, another important issue in the functioning of the police forces is that the state governments are responsible for the transfers, postings and the promotions of the police officers. And this clearly hinders the autonomy of the functioning of these police officers. This is because the transfers, postings and appointments and various service matters are under the direct control of the state governments or the political leaders. So, accordingly, the Supreme Court had said that there should be a police establishment board in each state, and that will deal with the transfers, postings, and the promotions of the police officers, and they will not be directly dealt by with the state government. And this was again a measure that aimed at providing functional autonomy to the police officers. Third in this regard was the Police Complaints Authority at every state level. And this Police Complaints Authority was created in order to hold the police officers accountable in their functioning. That is, in the instances of police excesses, a complaint can be registered in this authority regarding the functioning of the police forces. So, this aimed at ensuring the accountability of the police forces. So, the State Security Commission, the Police Establishment Board, and the Police Complaints Authority aimed at providing functional autonomy to the police forces, holding the police forces accountable, and also insulating the police forces from the political influences. Now, besides the setting up of these three bodies, the Supreme Court had also ordered that the Director General of the Police shall be selected by the state government from amongst the three senior most officers of the department which have been empaneled for the promotion to that rank by the Union Public Service Commission. That means the appointment of the Director General of the Police should be based on the recommendations of the Union Public Service Commission or the UPSC, and it should be from amongst the three senior most officers of the department who have been empaneled for the promotion by the UPSC. Further, regarding the tenure of the police officers, the Supreme Court guidelines say that there should be a minimum tenure of 2 years for the senior positions. Further, for police officers who are on operational duties in the field, they would also have a minimum tenure of 2 years. Now, this minimum tenure of 2 years has been provided by the Supreme Court because we have at times seen that honest police officers are transferred from their positions, and accordingly, they are not able to discharge their duties properly. And further, the small tenures of service of the police officers has been one of the reasons for inefficient functioning of the police. So accordingly, the Supreme Court has provided this minimum tenure of 2 years. Further, we see that there have been a lot of delays in the investigation by the police forces. And that has mainly been because majority of the police officers or police forces are involved in the law and order functions. So in this regard, the Supreme Court has provided the guideline that there is a need for separating the investigation and the law and order functions of the police. And this will ensure speedier investigation, better expertise, and improved rapport of the police with the people. So these were the suggestions that were provided by the Supreme Court for the functioning of the police departments at the state levels. However, we note that there are central police organizations also. And in this regard, the Supreme Court has asked the Union government to set up a National Security Commission for the selection and placement of the heads of central police organizations and upgrading the effectiveness of these forces and improving the service conditions of its personnel. So these are the police reforms that were directed by the Supreme Court in the 2006 Prakash Singh versus the Union of India case. And in this regard, the Supreme Court has asked all the state governments to follow these directives. However, majority of the states have not followed these guidelines or directives of the Supreme Court in this regard. And this has been one of the issues in the lack of proper, accountable and non-political functioning of the police forces in India. And that is why we hear a lot of issues regarding the functioning of police forces. And this is the same thing that has been highlighted by the author in this regard. So with this, let's take up the next news article now. Now this article on page number 6 talks about the National Green Tribunal, and it has been written by the former Environmental Minister Jairam Ramesh, who talks about the functioning of the National Green Tribunal and how it has made a difference on the environmental protection. Now in this article, we will look at some important aspects of the NGT from our preliminary examination point of view, and also some of the strengths and challenges in the functioning of the National Green Tribunal which can be important for us from General Studies Paper 2 point of view under the topic governance. Now, as we all know that NGT was established in 2010 under the National Green Tribunal Act of 2010 that was passed by the central government. So this means that it is a statutory body which has been created by this Act of 2010. Now, the stated objective of creating the National Green Tribunal was to provide a specialized forum for effective and speedy disposal of the cases that are pertaining to environmental protection, conservation of forests, and for seeking compensation for damages that are caused by people or property due to violation of the environmental laws. So this means that it was created with the purpose of providing environmental justice. So in this regard, it is important for us to note the legal jurisdiction of the National Green Tribunal. And the NGT has the power to hear all the civil cases relating to the environmental issues. And the laws with which the National Green Tribunal deals have been listed in the Schedule 1 of the NGT Act. And these include the Water Act of 1974, the Water Cess Act of 1977, again the Forest Act of 1980, the Air Pollution Act 1981, Environmental Protection Act, Public Liability Insurance Act, and the Biological Diversity Act of 2002. However, one important thing that should be noted about the jurisdiction of the National Green Tribunal is that it has not been vested with powers to hear any matter relating to the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 and the Indian Forest Act of 1927. And also various laws that are enacted by the states relating to the forests, tree preservations, etc. And as such, specific issues related to these laws cannot be raised before the National Green Tribunal, and this is one of the important areas that can be asked in our preliminary examination. Further, similar to the other institutions like the National Human Rights Commission, etc., the NGT or the National Green Tribunal is not bound by the procedure laid down under the Code of Civil Procedure, and it shall be guided by the principles of natural justice. Further, the NGT is also not bound by the rules of evidence that are enshrined in the Indian Evidence Act of 1872. So these are basically the flexibilities that have been provided to the National Green Tribunal to ensure the environmental justice. Further, while passing the orders and the decisions and awards, the NGT applies the principle of sustainable development and also follows the precautionary principle and the polluter pays principle. Regarding the review and appeal, the orders of the NGT can be appealed to the Supreme Court within 90 days. Now, after this, let us look at the strengths of the National Green Tribunal and also some of the challenges in the functioning of the NGT from the mains examination perspective. So first and foremost strength of the National Green Tribunal is that it offers a path for the evolution of environmental jurisprudence by setting up an alternative dispute resolution mechanism related to the environmental issues. Further, it plays a crucial role in curbing environmental damaging activities and also helps in reducing the burden of litigation in the higher courts on the environmental matters. So basically, it deburdenizes the higher judiciary on the environmental matters. Further, the NGT is less formal, it is less expensive, and is also a faster way of resolving disputes related to the environment. Also, the NGT has been instrumental in ensuring that the environmental impact assessment is strictly observed. And besides this, the independence of the NGT has been ensured by stating the principle that the chairperson and the members are not eligible for reappointment. So these are few strengths in the functioning of the National Green Tribunal. That is, it creates an alternative dispute resolution mechanism for environmental issues. It helps in curbing the environmental damaging activities, reduces the burden of litigation in higher courts. It is a less formal, less expensive and faster way of resolving issues related to environment, and also ensures the EIA norms are followed. However, there have been certain challenges in the functioning of the NGT. And first and foremost, we have learned about that is the Wildlife Protection Act, Scheduled Tribes Acts, etc. have been kept out of the NGT's jurisdiction, which is a limitation on the functioning of the NGT because all these acts are also related to the environment and have a bearing on the environment conservation and also on various issues related to the environment. So basically, this restricts the jurisdiction area of NGT and also hampers its functioning. Further, the NGT decisions are nowadays being challenged in various high courts under the writ jurisdiction of the High Court under Article 226. And it is at times asserted that the High Court is superior as compared to the NGT because the High Courts are constitutional bodies while the NGT is a statutory body. Also, we have seen that the Act provides that the decisions of NGT can be challenged in Supreme Court within a period of 90 days. However, they are still being challenged in High Courts. So there is lack of clarity on what kind of decisions can be challenged and where they can be challenged. Further, the NGT focuses on the environmental issues, and as such it has been criticized as being anti-economic growth and anti-development. And last but not the least, but the justice delivery mechanism is hindered by a limited number of regional branches, and we note that it has only 4 to 5 branches across India. So these are few points that can be used in writing answers related to the functioning and the challenges in the functioning of NGT or the National Green Tribunal in the mains examination. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this editorial on page number 6 states that India's progress on the nutritional indices has been poor. And this year's Global Hunger Index has put India in a very poor position. Now, India has been ranked the same as Sudan, that is 94th among 107 countries. Further, India continues to be in the serious hunger category of this index. And India's score is the worst amongst the BRICS countries and is also inferior to its neighbors, that is Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Nepal. So in this regard, let us look at the Global Hunger Index from our preliminary examination perspective and also look at some of the suggestions that are required for improving the nutritional status. So it is jointly published by Hunger Worldwide and Welthungerhilfe. And this index is calculated on the basis of 4 indicators, that is undernourishment, child wasting, child stunting and child mortality. So undernourishment is basically a measure of share of population with insufficient calorific intake. Child wasting includes the share of children who are under the age of 5 and who have low weight for their height, and it reflects undernutrition. Then stunting is the share of children who are under the age of 5 years, who have a low weight for their age, and they reflect chronic undernutrition. While the child mortality is calculated by the mortality rate of children under the age of 5. Now in this regard, the editorial says that the National Family Health Survey of 2015 and 16 points out a poor nutritional status in India. And this survey has found that under 5 stunting from the chronic undernourishment stood at about 38% and wasting was at 21%. Now, although this has shown an increase of 10% as compared to the last decade, however, at the international level, it shows the poor performance of India in improving the nutritional status of its population. Now, although in the past 2 decades, India has witnessed steady economic growth, however, this has not translated into improved nutritional status for its population. Besides this, the government policies have paid inadequate attention to achieve the diet diversity in its PDS or the public distribution system. And its main focus has been on fulfilling the energy calorie requirement of its population and not on improving the nutritional level. So in this regard, some of the suggestions for improving the nutritional status can include strengthening the PDS, and there is a need for focusing on women's health that will provide healthier pregnancies, and also a stronger supplemental nutrition should be provided under the Integrated Child Development Scheme, and this would give children a better chance at all-round development. Further, it is said that the government should expand the access to maternal and child health care, as well as there is a need for improving the education and awareness level on the healthy diets and child feeding practices. Further, there is a need for supporting the small and marginal farmers in becoming sustainable and diversified producers. And they can diversify their crops from the traditional wheat and rice that are grown by these farmers because of the MSPs that are provided by the government. Further, there is a need for focusing on the existing human rights-based multilateral mechanisms and international standards, and they can help in strengthening the inclusive policy making and sustainable food systems. Also, the food should be priced not only by its weight or volume, but also by its nutrient density. So these are few suggestions that have been provided for improving the nutritional status and regarding the improvement of nutritional status based on the poor performance of India in the hunger index. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this article on page number 1 states that a recent publication by the Zoological Survey of India has revealed that India is home to 62 species of the skinks. And it says that 57% of all the skinks are found in India and are endemic to India. So, in this regard, let us understand some important things about the skinks from our preliminary examination point of view under the topic environmental and ecology. So regarding the skinks, these are a group of lizards which are found in all kind of habitats in the country, and they include from the Himalayas to the coasts to the dense forests and to the deserts. Secondly, these are highly alert, agile and fast moving, and they actively look for variety of insects and small invertebrates. Now, with about 1602 species of the skinks that are found across the world, it is the largest family of lizards, and India has 4% of the global diversity. Now, one of the reasons for these skinks getting killed is that their movements resemble those of snakes, and this leads people to have incorrect notion that they are venomous, and as such, they are killed. And regarding the Zoological Survey of India, you should note that it is a subordinate organization of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it was established in 1916. Further, its key focus is on the fauna that is found in India and exploration of resources and improvement or advancement of knowledge on exceptionally rich faunal diversity of the India. It is headquartered at Calcutta and has 16 regional stations that are located in different geographic locations across the country. So these are few important points from our preliminary examination. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this article on page number 7 is related to the complaint by the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, to the Chief Justice of India regarding the functioning of a Supreme Court judge. And some important points related to this issue were dealt with in yesterday's DNS, that is 18th October 2020. So do go through that. So with this, we conclude today's discussion, and these are the answers for the self-assessment test and the question for the day.